Y'all know I try to avoid using the word should, but one of the most common questions I get is how many goals should I have? I get this question all the time. How many, and even if they don't use the word should, I get like, how many goals is the best number of goals? How many goals, do you recommend? How many goals? Blah, 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 all these things. And I wish I could create a quiz for you, like a la like a magazine quiz. How many hours do you work? How many kids do you have? What's your job? Like all these things, right? I could ask you all these questions and just like spit out a number that's like, you should have this many goals, right? How cool would that be? Unfortunately, there is no right number for everyone. Hence the new appendix. If you have not watched any of the videos about my goal planner this year, the goal planner in the main pages is set up for 8 goals, but there is a whole appendix that I built that you can have anywhere from 3 to 7. It's the same pages, but adjusted for the number of goals. That way you can print out the page that makes sense for you and your goals. So there's just not a right number. And I even hesitate truthfully including 8 because I think 8 can be a lot, but there's a lot of things to think about. And that's what I'm going to go through today. I'm going to share some things to think about, some questions to ask yourself as you're determining how many goals you want in 2025. Not how many goals you should have, not how many goals I recommend, how many goals is best for you. But before we do that, I would like to talk about this visual. And if you have been on any one of my goal setting calls, I've shared this visual in a number of places before. And if I had more time or capacity today, I would figure out how to get them to pop up individually on here, but I did not today. So here's where we're at. So the purpose of this visual is to remind you that you can have as many goals as you want, but you only have so much capacity to make progress on goals in general. And so the more goals that you have, the slower your progress. Imagine this is not there. The slower your progress is going to be. So let's walk through this. Each of these little yellow boxes represents progress that you're going to make on a goal. And let's say for the year that you have the capacity to make 24 yellow boxes of progress. This is arbitrary. Are you with me here? Like it doesn't represent any, it's not hours. It's just 24 little progress blocks. That's how much progress. And yes, we picked 24 because it is pretty with math. You have 24 progress blocks. If you decide that in 2025, you're going all in on one goal, you are just going to stay focused on one individual goal, and that is it. That's your only priority. You are going to get to apply all 24 of your progress blocks on that one goal. And you're going to make a lot of progress, right? That's 24 progress blocks worth of progress. Now let's say, okay, I cannot focus on one goal. I couldn't. Personally, my personality, I would get bored. I would it just wouldn't work for me. So let's say I want to know that I want to have more than one, but I still want to be picky and I want to prioritize. So I'm going to focus on 3 goals. Now you're going to make 8 progress blocks worth of progress on each of those goals. Just because you have more goals doesn't mean you suddenly have more capacity, right? More goals doesn't mean more progress in your total progress bucket. You cannot think that the same version of you is going to make the same progress on one goal is going to make the exact same progress on 3 goals. You're just not. There's just not enough hours in the day. There's not enough energy in your tank. There's not enough money in the world. There's just not. So if you have more goals, your progress is going to get cut. Now, is it necessarily going to get cut evenly like that? No, not necessarily. You may have 3 goals where one is pretty small and only takes 4 progress blocks, and another one is pretty small and only takes 6 progress blocks, and then you put 14 towards the remaining. My math is right. And so you're like, Laken, I can make 14 on this one. Yeah, but you're and maybe not sacrificing, but you're picking smaller goals that are going to take up less of your progress. We keep moving up in the scale. Let's say, okay, 3 goals doesn't feel right. I go through all my prep work. I answer all the questions, and there's really like 6 things that are jumping out at me to prioritize in 2025. You could totally have 6 goals. That's total. That was like my sweet spot number for a lot of years. If you have been around watching my goal progress videos, I did 6 for a long time. And if you break that down evenly, you're cutting it in half again. So you're not again, we did cut it in thirds. Now we're cutting it in half. You're going to make 4 progress blocks worth of progress on each of those goals. That's still progress. 4 is a lot higher than 0. You could still make progress, but it is not near as much progress as if you only had 3, and definitely not as much progress as if you only had 1. The last component is 8, which is, again, the number that the Goals with Laken planner is set up for. But I very much encourage you to use the appendix and have less goals if you want. Excuse me. Or a lot of planners that have categories, 8 seems to be the common number. Totally fine. If you want to focus on 8 goals, 8 areas of life, etc., awesome. You're going to have 3 progress blocks per area of life. Once again, you can divvy them up however you want. And let's say that you're like, okay, I don't want to give up on all of them, but I want to go all in on like 2. And I want the other ones to all be like the bare minimum. So let's say you only dedicate 1 progress block to 6 of the 8 areas, and then you have 11 each for the remaining. Awesome. That you could totally do that. But keep in mind, 11 each for those other ones is still a lot less than if you were to just focus on those 2. Also, that math did not math again. It's not 11. What's the number? 6 minus, it's 9. The number is 9. If you did 1 in 6 of them, and then if you are not a math person, you're not following along, I get it. All this to say, this is all just like theoretical looking at blocks. The more goals you have, the less progress you're going to make on each individual goal. Okay. All right. Let's talk about 3 questions, 3 things to actually think about when you're trying to make this decision. What do your resources look like for next year? What is your capacity? You are going to have to guess a little bit, right? You're only going to know so much when you're making these decisions in December, and that's what refreshes are for. But ultimately, in general, do you expect 2025 to look and feel very similar to 2024? Do you expect to have a big life change that's going to take up a lot of your capacity? Are you moving or having a baby or getting married, changing jobs, like getting a master's degree? Is there something that's going to throw off your year next year? Is there going to be more resources, right? Is there something that's changing behind the scenes that you're going to open up time? Maybe your spouse is going to cut back their hours at work, and so you're going to have a little bit more capacity there. Maybe your little one is going off to school, and now they're going to be in kindergarten 5 days a week. I can't imagine the emotional. I know that's not a change from December to January. I get it. But so let's say that change happened this year, right? Your little one went off to kindergarten in September. So now next year, you're going to have a little one that's in school a lot of the time. Do you suddenly have more of a capacity? This is a generic, again, I wish I could give you a quiz that you get to like plop in pretty answers and like it spits out the number of goals. That's not how it works. It's just a generic question for you to think about as you're trying to figure out how many goals approximately do I want to focus on? The next question is, how specific are you getting? If we go back to our little visual here, that's not very little. When you have goals that are vague, the number of progress blocks you need to achieve that goal is infinite. It could be, you can make 1 block of progress or you can make 100, right? If you are specific, it's going to need a specific amount of progress. Now, that could be a specific small amount, or it could be a specific big amount. So if you are specific, it's going to be easier for you to potentially estimate how many goals you can add. But it works both ways, because if you are vague, you could have more goals and know that your progress is just going to be slower, right? Let me give you an example. If you say, I'm going to read 50 books next year, you could calculate that, right? You could do the math and figure out, approximately what length of books you're reading, approximately how fast you read equals approximately this many hours of reading or listening. However, And so then you could know how much of your capacity it's going to take up. And again, I'm not trying to get you to like do math and calculations, but like if you are in general spending a certain amount on goals and you are setting a reading goal, you could rough estimate how much of your goal time you're spending on reading. Now, if you decide to be more vague and you just say, I want to read more, that's fine. You guys know that I don't feel like you need super, super specific goals. I think you need specific action steps, but I don't think you need specific goals. Then that opens it up a little bit more for you to have some other goals that you can incorporate as well without putting as much of a strain on your resources. And then I'm just going to leave this up here because the last question is, how much progress do you want to make? And these questions are not necessarily ones you can answer right this second. It's going to take a little bit of reflection, the whole going through all the prep work. Whatever goal planner you're using comes with some kind of prep work. And when you get to the point that you have your general ideas, like these are the things I'd like to focus on, right? Maybe after going through all that prep work, you come out with 4. It's not even one of the options on the screen. You come out and decide that you have 4 things you want to focus on in 25. How much progress do you want to make? Are you comfortable having that amount of progress on each of those goals? Or would you rather cut one of those goals and make your progress more? Right? That is a personal decision that I cannot answer for you. There is no right or wrong. Like there are pros and cons, I believe personally, to all the options, right? On one end, if I have a lot of goals, I won't get bored. I have lots of options, lots of action steps. I don't feel like doing something, I'm going to pivot, do something else. The con is that I'm not going to make as much progress, right? And then the other end of the spectrum is the same way. You pick one goal and you are all in on that one goal next year. You are going to make so much progress, but then you might get sick of that goal. And there might be days that you're like, I don't want to do that. It's just a decision that you have to make. But the best part is that you can always change your mind, right? You get to decide in December, November. Some of you have already started working on your goals for next year, but for most of us, December. You're going to decide, I want this many goals. And then let's say after Q1, and we're about to refresh for Q2, something big changed, something unexpected, something you weren't expecting to happen. You get to change your mind. You need to add a new goal. You need to take one away. You want to make one more specific. You want to make one more vague. This is why checking in with our annual goals is part of the quarterly refresh. This is why you need to decide if the annual goals you picked in December still make sense for your life in March, in June, and September. That is why that component of the quarterly refresh is built in. It's because you're allowed to always change your mind. So I know I've referenced it a lot here. The Goals with Laken Planner is available. You can get the whole year. You can get just Q1 if you're not sure. You can get just the prep work if you're interested in that. But I wanted to quickly answer. There's a question I've been getting a lot in various places. I've gotten it in the DM. I got it on the community call. The planner is not going to be on sale on Black Friday, just the goal setting workshops. And when I say Black Friday is happening early here in our world. It's going to be next Friday, November 22nd, will be Black Friday for us. But the planner's not going to be on sale, just the goal setting workshops. So I get that question a lot.